The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 killed around 300 people and left 90,000 people homeless. The fire was gigantic. It enveloped 1/3 of the city in flame and left the city in ruins. The reason the Great Chicago Fire happened was because the month that the fire happened was super hot and dry. Most of the buildings in Chicago were made out of wood. Before the Great Fire, a lot of smaller fires had already happened. The citizens of Chicago did not give up. They started to rebuild the city almost instantly. In 1892, just 22 years later, Chicago was fighting New York on the floor of the House of Representatives for the location of the Columbian Exposition of 1893. Chicago knew they needed to make their mark on the U.S. after the Great Fire. Because of that, they were able to raise $5 million to host the World's Fair, while other cities like New York were asking Congress to give them money to host the World's Fair. Because of this, Chicago was able to beat New York for the location of the World's Fair of 1893. In 1893, everybody was rushing to get to the World's Fair. The World's Fair was hosted in Jackson Park, Chicago. The World's Fair was extremely popular. It was estimated that 1 in 4 Americans saw the Columbian Exposition, which is incredible when you consider that it was only open for 6 months. The fair impacted not only Chicago, but the entire United States. The World's Fair was a celebration of the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's voyage to America. The World's Fair, one of the most iconic moments in Chicago's history, was only one wheel away from being bankrupt. The biggest attraction in the World's Fair was the Ferris wheel. It was the first Ferris wheel ever invented. It was created by George Washington Ferris, an engineer that was from Illinois. The total cost of the wheel was $300,000. Before the Ferris wheel was added to the World's Fair, it was going bankrupt. The introduction of the wheel saved the fair. After the World's Fair, Chicago became one of the most influential cities in the United States. During the World's Fair, not everything went well. On July 5th, 1894, a fire broke out and killed 17 people. The cold storage building burned because of a bad design error. The column that burned was made completely out of wood and made to look good and not be safe. There were 3 other fires that happened during the World's Fair. Luckily, none of these fires had any casualties, but they showed that Chicago still had a long way to go to get better construction and better fire protection. This is a picture of the Science and Industry Museum that still resides in Jackson Park, Chicago today. The architecture of the building was put together with great quality. With some help with the quality construction we have in our present day, is still standing. You can visit the Science and Industry Museum too. The 1893 World's Fair was a place where inventors could come together to show off a multitude of new gadgets, fax machines, new telephones, an electric railway, neon lights, and electric belts, claiming to cure any number of ailments. The fair paved the way for numerous technological advancements and Chicago became a center for innovation. The Great Fire was terrible, but it caused something great, the World's Fair. It is crazy that something that caused so many deaths and left a lot of people homeless could cause something that would benefit the city so much.